Hi, my name is Sandy Katam, and I am the director of Game of the Week, and I'm also the head of the media team here at Yafl. Today I'm sitting with Cohen Mangin. He's our voice of Game of the Week, and he's also the host of the Gridiron Show. How are you doing, Cohen?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, thank you. I'm happy that that you're here with us, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you on something that's I feel like super important, not only to our youth but to our city as New Mexicans. What we're going to be talking about today, I feel like everybody can relate, know somebody that has either been down that path or has been down that path themselves. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Give us a background on who Cohen Mangin is and, where are you from, all the details.
I'm from outskirt town called Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It's right outside of Albuquerque.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. I graduated 2010. Right now, I'm currently the operations manager for a company called DHL, which is actually a third party for Sidwell Air Freight. We
Nice.
ship logistics and shipments from your normal Sheen package to military-based products that have to do with military stuff like airplanes and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, very interesting job. I've been there for about 3.5 years.
How do you like it there?
I love it there. One thing I'm very, very grateful for is how quick I moved up there. I started as a driver. Um, I had the opportunity. One of my bosses named Jesse Wentz and Mike Dunn gave me a chance. They took a chance on me, and so far I've been flourishing with the position that I'm in. One of the biggest aspects I have and the greatest things I take back from it is I have a crew of a bunch of young men and women that I can talk to every day, go through some things with them, and they can learn from my past experiences, which has made the company flourish.
I think that's pretty incredible. 3 years to go from a driver to the operations manager is huge. It's no small thing, so I commend you on that. Where I know you're a huge football guy. Working with you through Game of the Week, I think this is your third season with us. I mean, you know everyone on the field. It's honestly quite impressive, but it also helps the league as a whole just to have a familiar face. As I was starting Game of the Week myself, not people know me, and as I feel like just being a female in a male-dominant world as football, it's a little intimidating. So I'm very blessed and happy that I have you to be that face now. So where did your love for the game start?
It actually started when I was 7 years old. My father, Don Mangin, he actually introduced me to the game, and he was my coach all 5 years. A couple kids on my street as well. One of my best friends, Jarek, his dad Steve also helped coach. He was the head coach, and we kind of built our own team. We were called the North Rams, the 1999 team to 2004.
Wow.
We went to a couple semifinals and championships. Some very, very good memories I had. Some of my friends. We worked our way through. I played 8th grade and 9th grade ball in Rio Rancho. And then I was a 3-year letterman, varsity letterman for football.
Wow.
I played quarterback and tight end at Rio Rancho. And then I went on to sign my letter of intent to play at New Mexico Military Institute. And unfortunately, the summer before I was going to go there, I tore my ACL. So I wanted to follow my family's footsteps, which was law enforcement correctional officers. And I immediately, when I was 19 years old, I joined in, and that was the 9 years of my life that took place. It was a love of mine that I had.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the history that your family has with the law enforcement, because you said you wanted to follow in their
Yeah,
footsteps.
my mom and dad both worked at the state prison. My dad worked; he was a canine director,
Wow.
and my mom was a sergeant. She retired 20 years from there. My dad went on and worked for the FBI. So I really, really had dreams of following in their footsteps and living kind of the family legacy, the Mangin name. I loved it. It was fun. I moved up quick there as well. I became a CO, and then I ended up being featured on a TV show for 3 years called A&E Rookie Behind Bars.
Okay.
It was basically a TV show that follows young rookie COs through their day-to-day jobs working in the state prison. And I worked in the level 6 prison, which is the maximum security, 23 hours a day, locked down 1 hour. They come out to their shower, rec time. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah, no, that's some heavy stuff.
So I did that, and then I transferred across the street. I became a sergeant, and then I moved up to lieutenant. And after that, November 7th, 2019 is a day that I'll never forget. It was a day that I was caught for my addiction that I had, which was methamphetamine.
Wow.
it took me to get to that lowest point to lose everything for me to try to really turn my life around.
Yeah, no, I can hear that, in your voice that it was a really, important and impactful day in your life. Just to rewind a little bit, I mean, growing up with a mom who's a sergeant and, all that stuff, needless to say, you probably didn't get away with anything. No, that's crazy. Because I grew up with very, very strict parents too, so I couldn't imagine, your mom being a sergeant. But yeah, no, tell me a little bit more about, over the years, you stopped playing football, and those changes. Like, what was the biggest changes in your life that kind of maybe impacted you to make those decisions to, start using methamphetamine?
First, starting off from whenever I first started, one thing that I miss and I adored so much is I got to play in a yearly game, which was it was called the Law Enforcement First Responders game. It was cops versus firemen, and on the police side, I played on the police side because I represented the correction side, and it was really, really fun because I got to meet a lot of local law enforcement that had played. Some of them had played in the NFL, some played college,
Wow.
and we all mixed up, and it was basically for a fund called 1082, which was for officers that got hurt in the line of duty or that lost their life.
Yeah.
And the last one that we recently played in was for Nigel Benner, the Rio Rancho police officer that had passed away. He was shot in the line of duty.
Yeah.
And then before that was Officer Webster, the APD cop that was killed as well. So every year that game, the cops and firemen would come together and we'd play a local game and we'd have fun. And so it was kind of a way that, yeah, I'd gotten injured in high school and I started this career, but I still had a way to play football, you know. And then I went back and I tried playing in the adult semi-pro leagues here. I had a lot of fun doing that. I only made it like 1 or 2 games because I ended up breaking my ankle.
Wow.
And then I ended up tearing my knee up again. So I kind of just, I was really, really depressed because football was my outlet my whole life. You know, it really, really was. And, you know, that's why I want to be a huge voice that I can be for any kids or any parent watching or any coach watching that, you know, there are other things to do besides going to the path that I did, you know. And the path that I went through wasn't easy. You know, I had about a 3.5 year bad addiction that I had. And what led up to it was just a lot of self-inflicted wounds that I did to myself. I lost a lot of relationships with people. You know, a lot of people couldn't believe when I got in trouble what I was doing. You know, I was the shift commander of the jail. No, it wasn't my character. People were shocked, you know. And unfortunately, being in the limelight of that TV show rookie year and then, you know, being a football player from my town, you know, it looked really, really bad.
I think it almost made it just a bigger deal. You know, like a lot of us, you know, we've made mistakes in our lives. We all have skeletons in our closet. And, you know, when we were talking about this, it just so happens yours happens to be on the internet. You know, if all of us had all of our mistakes and everything publicized, you know, it'd be a different world out there. So what made you, you know, turn your life around? Because seems like it was a really dark time in your life.
What made me really turn my life around, one was I met my wife.
Oh, I love
yeah, my wife helped me a lot.
Yeah,
she really did. I think the biggest thing too was letting my mom and dad be able to sleep at night.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah, they a lot of times my parents would wake up in the middle of the night and they didn't know where I was, what I was doing.
So all of that you just said, you know, I can relate to as well, not personally with that struggle, but, you know, I grew up with a cousin, Matt, who kind of just like painted this picture of success for me. You know, he's a car salesman and, you know, my family doesn't come from, you know, jobs like that, you know, and although it's not huge, growing up, I would see him in a collared shirt and a tie, so it was unfamiliar for me to see that, and he kind of painted a picture for me that there is a life outside of what my family is, you know, used to. And so unfortunately he did find himself in a drug addiction as well, and I was too young and naive to even know that he was struggling with that. But now growing up, you know, I hear stories of how my aunt, same story, you know, she wouldn't know where he was, or, you know, he wouldn't come home, or you just, as a parent, you never know, you know, if you're going to get that phone call. And I don't know if your parents knew what you were struggling with at the time, but if they did, you know, it's one of those things that you just never know. And as a parent, it's probably one of the scariest things to walk through. But it sounds like you had a really awesome support system, not only just your wife, but your parents. And talk to me a little bit more about the support system that you had through the football community, because like I said, I'm astounded by how many people you know out there.
You know, going back real quick too, you know, my parents and my mom and dad, they did nothing wrong with me. That's what I want to try and make a point about addiction, is that
Oh yeah.
it doesn't matter from where you come from. You can come from the best home. You can come from, you know, the worst
doesn't
home.
discriminate.
It doesn't, you know, and it was nothing they ever did. And I had to tell my parents that for a long time. As, you know, still, you know, as our relationship has gotten better, I've had to let them know that they did nothing wrong with their parenting. They were great parents. They always supported me. They pushed me to be the best I could be. So, you know, what I did was a choice that I made, you know, and I've really had to overcome it big time. And I think back to now what we're coming with football is I had it was really cool back in 2020, end of 2021, going in 2022. I had a really good opportunity. I had a coach. He's actually the Hope Christian Huskies varsity football coach right now.
Okay.
His name's Fernando Salinas, and on his staff is Kevin Barker, Heath Bevan, Brian Montera, Mike O'Reilly. They knew me since I was a younger kid playing against me. They were coaches. Kevin Barker was the head coach at Sandia High School when I played high school. And, you know, I just happened to see him one day, and he comes up to me and he says, hey, he goes, have you ever thought about coaching football? And it just clicked in my head right away. You know,
like, why not?
I was like, you know what, I'll come over. So I had the pleasure to coach there for a year and a half, and I was the quarterback's coach, JV coach as well, and I had a great time, and they just welcomed me in with open arms, even knowing my background history. They gave me a chance, and Hope Christian being a real religious school and stuff,
Yeah.
it really made me feel loved at the time, because for a long time, going to Rio Rancho, I had this flag league that I played in, and I had a lot of great people that I met there over the years, and since I'd played in it since I was 15 all the way till I was about 24, 25, and they actually banned me from playing in the league because of what happened. So, you know, it sucked, and it was rough, but it was nice to. Football has always been there for me.
Right.
It's always been there. Welcome arms. You know, they love second stories, second chances, and you know, I have to give the Hope Christian coaching staff big time, because that's what really changed my life around too. That, my wife, and my family, of course, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle Justin and Ashley, they've all really been there for me. And I'm also very grateful for, not only do I have 3 kids of my own, my 2 sons and my daughter, but I also inherited 2 other sons as well. And
Nice.
my son Zane, me and his dad have a great relationship, you know, and I'm grateful for that. And he plays in the league, and he has fun, and you know, and then my other son Jacob now he's part of our crew. He's on the film crew.
Jacob's great.
So all this stuff, football has always been here for me. And Yafl was the last time that I really remembered loving the game so much. So I thought, why not come back here to Yafl, give it what I got on all my free time,
Yeah.
and maybe I can change someone's life. Like I said, maybe I
Yeah.
can change a family member, a parent, a coach, a player can see my story and
100%.
see my struggles, and see that at the end of the day, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You know, another thing that's been big with my recovery too is just speaking to people that have heard my story, and because a lot of people can't believe it, they still can't. But they didn't. You know, I went from having everything to losing everything, to the point where I was homeless. You know, I was on the side of the road, walking the streets on Louisiana. You know what I mean? It was rough.
You know, and that's why I say it's important, not just, you know, to give you a moment to, you know, shine light on the issue, but I mean, it's huge here in the city. You know, like you said, there's people walking up and down the street all over Albuquerque, even, you know, Rio Rancho. It doesn't discriminate, all over the state. And you know, I'm just grateful that you're able to, you know, have the courage to speak on this, and you've had the support system over the years to kind of push you through.
And now transitioning back to how I came with Yafl. Okay, it was actually funny.
Story.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I'm a huge Ohio State Buckeye fan and a Green Bay Packer fan, just a huge sport fan. And sometimes I sit around and I'll be messing around commentating player stuff. Well, one morning I wake up, I'm getting ready for work, and my wife comes in and she tells me, she says, "Hey, they had this commentating spot. You know, it's just here and there, but she's like, I signed you up for it."
Yeah,
I
I
said,
remember
"What is
getting
it?"
your application.
And she told me it was New Mexico Yafl, and she's like, they called and they want you to go in for an interview. And I said, wow. I was like, that is neat, and I didn't think anything of it. But now that I've gotten back involved with it, you know, and I want to thank you, I want to thank Bill Blair, I want to thank Chad, you know, the whole Yafl board for believing in me and taking a chance on me. And so that's why I give you guys everything I got, from, you know, trying to promote the players to the coaches. You know, New Mexico football isn't real big, but we're trying to make it big.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
Big
know,
time.
and that's what we're here for, is the kids at the end of the day. And honestly, game of the week today wouldn't be what it is without you. I mean, I remember when it was just me and Donovan running it by ourselves, and you know, Bill was announcing. I even had Donovan announcing, and it was just, you know, it's made such, it's grown so much, and it truly wouldn't be what it is today, not just without you, you know, without our whole crew, Jacob, you know, Shayna, Abed, Justin, everybody. They've been incredible. So truly, I commend you for what you do and just giving your time, because I mean, we all have lives outside of this, but for us to, you know, come together and bring, like you're saying, just highlighting the state is huge.
Definitely, it is big time. You know, like I said, I would love to do it. You know, anybody ever wants to hear my story, you know, any fan, parent, or anything, they want to talk, or they want to see, they want to get to know me. And you know, I do get a little uncomfortable a little bit, but I've learned to really pick my head up. You know what I mean? And
you have to embrace it.
Yes,
truthfully,
you do.
at the end of the day, because it's a mistake that anybody, any one of us could fall into. And so the fact that you're able to be open to talk about your story is huge, and it speaks volume about who you are as a person. Because you know, through the Yafl community, I'm sure that there's people that have experienced or know somebody who has walked in your shoes before.
Of course, and like I said, going back to it, if there is, you know, with the hopes of with this video, you know, I hope that somebody can see it and be like, wow, you know, let me, you know, this guy, you know, like I said, I had everything and I lost it all. I'm still building some relationships with people, you know, and it's been years. I'm still building it back. I'm still trying to stay positive. The biggest thing is now is, you know, I used to be huge on social media. I used to have a couple clothing brands that sponsored me and stuff like that, and they all walked away when everything happened, because, you know, at the end of the day, they always say, who wants to support a drug addict, you know what I mean? But there's no shame in that, you know. I'm Cohen Mangin, I'm a meth addict. I was at one time, you know, and it's something that it's something I live with every day, but as each day goes by, it gets better, and my story can change someone's life, and that's all I want it to be. And a big part of it is Yafl. Yafl, in a sense, it keeps my mind busy. I can give whatever time I can give on, you know, on my free time, and really showcase these kids and these coaches, the cheerleaders, the flag football league that we have now, and you know, I can make a difference in the community any way that they need me to.
I mean, we always say it's about the kids, you know, at the end of the day. And what advice or, you know, tips or just message do you have to give to people out there that may be struggling, maybe walking through what you were walking through in the past? Maybe they're trying to overcome it and they're struggling. What would you say to them?
I would say find a sponsor. You know, that's another thing I want to say too. I want to give a huge shout out to somebody that was a sponsor for me. He was a retired Bernalillo County Sheriff's officer. His name was Nate Lerner, and his wife Andrea. They were big. They were on me. They were the ones that helped me get to my rehabilitation center that I went to.
That's
and
awesome.
Tao, shout out to Shadow Mountain Recovery. They're a great place. Also Sage Neuroscience. They're located on Paseo. Great company. They get you in classes, speaking to people that help you with the public. And my counselor over there was Solomon Folk. Love the guy. He has a great story as well. But if I could give a message to anybody, is you got to trust the process. It's not just about going through, you know, the 12 steps and all that stuff.
Right.
It's about believing in yourself, looking in the mirror and telling yourself that I can get through this. You got to live for every day, because addiction, it doesn't matter if you've been clean a day or 20 years, it's still always going to be there. And unfortunately for me, you know, I would never wish what happened to me on anybody, but it does happen. You know, you see your sports people constantly that have had problems. One of my biggest people that I look up to all the time is he's a baseball player. His name was Hamilton. He played for the Rangers. He was same kind of addiction that I had, but I went back and looked at his story. Mike from Jersey Shore, another great role model who changed his life. And like I said, the advice I can give is find the people that love you, stick with them, trust the process, and find out what your pros and cons are, the positives of your life, what you bring to life, and know that you're valued.
100%.
And you know, look in the mirror and love yourself, because that's the biggest thing with addiction. Like I said, it was nothing that my family did or anyone did. It was something that I chose to do, but it was because I was riddling and I was crawling in my head and in my body, things that were going on with my wife that I couldn't handle.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to talk about it and go get help or anything, I got introduced to that drug, and it took my life for a ride big time.
Yeah.
And like I said, you just have to believe in yourself, be around people that love you, and really, 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 really want to do it.
Right.
That's
And
what
one
it
thing
is.
I want to touch on is I feel like as men, it's, mental health, all of these things, it's not easy to speak on. I feel like our society paints a picture of, being macho and, dealing with things on your own, specifically to the young men and, the youth out there, because we have these kids from 5 to 14 years old branch off into high school. With that, what would you say to them that maybe they feel like they can't speak to anybody or they deal with things silently? Because you walk through that,
Yeah, you can, the things that is great about the schools now is you have school counselors and stuff. There's hotlines that you can call. There has to be somebody that you can run to, and if there isn't somebody that you can run to, it could be, if you're a mid-school kid, it could be your best friend that's there with you. It could be somebody you look up to, but you just have to speak on what's going on
Find someone.
yes, and know that you're heard. That because at the end of the day, I'm happy I'm doing this interview today because I'm alive. I'm here. I'm able to talk to you about what's going on. There are people, I lost some friends, that either overdosed or they got killed by, over $20 of drugs because, our minds, the dopamine in the back of our minds, it really takes that drug in and it sucks you in big time to where you're not the person that you were. You don't even know the decisions you're making. You're just running amok out there. You know what I mean? And, high school, our young youth is what's huge right now, is what's getting them so that this next generation that goes up, they're not walking these streets like all these poor people on these bad, and it doesn't just happen, I'm from Rio Rancho, people look at that and they go, oh, that's not a bad area. It doesn't matter if you're from Rio Rancho or you're from the International District or you're from the South Valley or you're from Moriarty, Santa Fe, the Pueblos, Belen, Las Lunas, Socorro. Drugs is a real thing, and it's everywhere, and it goes from the ages of kids, unfortunately, to your 72-year-old man that's sitting at his house. And it's bad.
100%.
And not, the one thing that I look at is what can we do to help these people?
Right.
What can we do? It's like when me and my wife are on the side of the road, and we're driving home from eating or the grocery store or something, we'll see someone on the road. We don't give them money. We'll give them food or water or something. We're giving them something that to love, because that was one thing that when I was on drugs that I stopped caring about was the simple things like food, your hygiene, keeping your house clean, having money to put in your gas and not using that money to go buy drugs.
Right.
Buying a good dinner, good meal now.
Yeah, just enjoying the little things in life.
Yes, and those little things we take for granted. You know what I mean, big time.
I mean, they all, and touching on that, I see them too standing on the side of the road, and they're all people, they're all individuals, and I always think to myself, what is their story? What happened to them along the lines of life that caused them to be in the position that they're in. And so again, they're all individuals and they all have stories, and we just we have to remember that. And if we can extend a helping hand or a helping word to them, word of encouragement, that's truly what we can do.
Yeah, and that's one thing that people got to look at too, is that they're not just, a lot of people will be like, oh, the homeless is bad, the homeless is this, the homeless is that, or they're on drugs, they're on this. Yeah, they are, but they're someone's kid. They're someone's sister, they're someone's brother, they're someone's dad. Some kid lost his dad, you know what I mean, or lost his mom. And no kid should have to go through that. Even if their dad or mom's not in their life, both families should be trying to make the kid see each other and be with their kids. You know what I mean? That's the way that I think about it, and I'm sure everybody that can relate to me here in New Mexico or anywhere, they want the same thing for their family member that's on whatever drug they're on right now, that's really in our streets.
Yeah, no, I agree. So just, closing out, what's something, that you have that's, positive in your life that you look forward to? Maybe it's Yafl, maybe it's you going home to see your beautiful wife, going home to see your kids play, just, end it on a good note for us. What's the highlight in your life?
The highlight in my life right now is, a routine. I get up every day, I go to work.
So would you say that would help somebody in your
big
situation?
Time, big time's routine. getting in a routine of going to work, getting up every day, you know, shaving your head, you know, grooming your beard, doing the necessities.
And they're little things, but
yes,
they matter.
Yes.
They really matter.
They do. You know, another thing too is keeping my mind really busy. Another thing that I suffer from is ADHD. I also suffer from PTSD. You know, I have a lot of issues, but there are issues besides medication and stuff that you don't have to riddle yourself in. You can do stuff like keeping your mind busy. You know, Yafl football, getting back to this, is huge. Because could I go coach at a high school or something? Of course I could. But this is something different that puts me out of my comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know the game, and then I know a lot of the people in the football community, because like I said, when you play Yafl and you work yourself up through mid-school ball, high school ball, all the star players from Yafl, when you get up in high school, are all the same ones.
Yeah.
So I played,
you guys all play against each other?
We all played against each other. And then even now to this day, there's guys from La Cueva like Ronnie Daniels. I still see him. I'll say hi to him. Jason Serta, who played on the Gladiators, played at Manzano. I see him. We were all players big time when we were younger, and then through high school. And you still see each other and you go, oh, you know, Tony McCoy, coach for the Valley Vikings, see him. You know, there's a lot. We all played against each other.
And then now you see their kids.
Yes.
And now they play with your kids.
Yes. And I can go up to them and tell them, man, your dad was a really, really good player at this time. And, you know, then it becomes generations. The one I touch on is Brody Weissung from Volcano.
Yeah.
He's third generation. He has his cousins that play for Lobos, and I played with his dads.
His daughter's on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's this stuff turns into generation. It really does. And, you know, it's huge, and I look forward to staying in it and making it bigger. And
it's a privilege to watch them grow, and you know, and just to think like, where are they going to end up? You know, where are they going to go through in high school? Where are they going to be as adults? So it truly is a privilege, and it's a privilege to work with you and our entire media team. So I'm thankful that you're open again to speak on this, because it is really important.
Yes, it is, definitely.
Well, thank you, Cohen. I do appreciate your time, and you know, you guys will catch us on the field.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.